Sometimes, it feels like the universe is conspiring against you. Despite your best efforts, you just want to crawl back under the blankets and shut everything out. As the head of the household, the burden of responsibility can feel overwhelming, even when you'd rather escape it. My day started with a jolt at 7 a.m. when the police knocked on my door to tell me there had been a break-in at my bar. I bolted outside, only to discover that my car had a flat tire. This, coupled with the fact that I'd only had 4 hours of sleep, made the whole situation even more infuriating. I had to borrow my wife's car to get to the bar, where I found most of the liquor had been stolen and the entrance was completely wrecked. It's going to be at least 2 weeks before we can open again. The police classified it as a robbery, and after the insurance agent took stock of the damage, I boarded up the place and waited for repairs to start. Thankfully, the insurance will cover the losses until we're back up and running. Around lunchtime, just as I was about to head home in my wife's car, I heard someone shout, "Samantha, wait." I turned around to see a man rushing toward me, but he stopped abruptly when he realized he'd made a mistake. He apologized, said he had the wrong car, and quickly walked away. When I got home, I told my wife, Samantha, about the strange encounter, but she didn't recognize the man. She then asked why I needed her car earlier. I explained the break-in and my flat tire. After a quick sandwich, I fixed my truck's burst valve stem, then ran out to buy some jeans, t-shirts, and a MAGA hat. When I returned home, I saw a note from Samantha saying she had gone shopping. My late shifts on Fridays and Saturdays usually mean I get home in the morning. After 12 years of having a beard, I finally decided to shave it off. After a shower, I got ready to head out but forgot to brush my hair, so my curls were all over the place. The change was so dramatic, I barely recognized myself. Even so, I decided to check out some other bars in town that night. As usual, I found Samantha still not home. I slipped into the bar through the back entrance, changed into my new clothes, and put on some reading glasses to complete my new look. With the clean shave and glasses, I looked significantly younger, almost like a college kid. Realizing my truck was too easy to spot, I called a cab to National Car Rental and picked up a white, nondescript Ford. Starting from the northern part of town, I made my way through various bars, taking in the atmosphere, the staff, and the clientele. I was gathering intel for when I eventually reopened my own place. Often, I'd leave without finishing my drink once I had what I needed. It was at the 7th Bar, a popular spot for university students by the Mississippi River, that things took a turn. Walking into New City David, I saw my wife, Samantha, dancing provocatively with another man. My anger exploded, especially when I realized that he was the same guy who had called out to her at lunch. It was clear she had been deceiving me. Samantha was dressed in a daring outfit, showing off a lot of cleavage. Being a bartender, I knew appearances can be misleading. I found a spot where I could observe discreetly. A guy at a table offered me a seat in exchange for buying a round. I was surprised but accepted and ordered a double gin and tonic. The regulars explained that the weekends were busy because of the university crowd. Later, I casually inquired about the woman in the revealing outfit. The redhead at the table told me that Samantha Brooks was often seen with her boss, Derek Matthews. They're regulars and might be more than friends, especially given Samantha's complicated situation with her husband working out of town. Also, they usually leave together before the band's last set. I thanked the table, bought another round, and said goodnight. Outside, as I was letting the air out of her car tires, I was caught by a redhead named Laura Tate, who worked with them. She mentioned that everyone at the table was also involved. I asked how she knew who I was. She said, "I didn't, but I could tell from your expression that you were trying hard to hide your feelings. Your gaze lingered on her too often. When I saw you messing with her car, it all made sense. Your earlier questions got me thinking about what her husband might do if he found out, so I came to see if my suspicions were right. You're not really an oil rig worker, are you? Maybe we should talk later." I drove the white Ford Taurus, marked as a rental. I confessed that Batya Street Bar was closed after being trashed and that Samantha thought I was still there. I told Laura I was out tonight to check out the competition. "Take the keys. I don't want you getting involved if someone else sees me." "You work at Batya's on Batya?" "It's got a solid reputation," she noted, taking the keys and leaving. Later, I joined her in the car, relieved no one else was around. "Where to?" Laura asked. "Somewhere private," I replied. "This is my place, and I needed a ride home," Laura said with a grin. It was a 20-minute drive to her modular home outside of town. I was surprised to see another car in the driveway. "That's my car." Emily, the brunette from our group, gave me a ride. "It helps keep unwanted attention away if you say you're with a friend," she explained. I texted her saying I took a cab home. Her house was immaculate and barely used. She grabbed some beers and we settled in for a chat. "Laura Tate, thank you for stepping in." "I was at a loss," I admitted. "You made me realize I might have overreacted," she told me. "He doesn't pay. They have a regular room at the Ramada Inn on 4th. If you follow them, you'll see them heading there after closing." She shows up in jeans and a t-shirt but leaves in more formal attire. They usually come back a few hours later, still in jeans. "How do you know all this?" I asked. "My brother manages the Ramada Inn," Laura replied. "Laura, what else do you know?" I asked, my mind racing with questions. "He's on duty from Wednesday through Sunday," she said. "They've been seeing each other for over a year now." Seeing my shocked reaction, she pressed on. "You seriously didn't know about this?" "No, I had no clue." "First, I need proof," I insisted. "Second, her parents have invested in my bar. I owe them $20,000. I'll have to talk to my brother and see if he can help. Maybe there's surveillance footage or she might have a keycard," Laura suggested. "I'll catch up with him next Friday at our parents' anniversary. We should swap contact info before you head out. I want to see their reactions to her flat tire to back up what I've said." I got back to the bar just before it closed, grateful that the parking lot was still well lit. A few minutes later, Samantha and Derek appeared, holding hands and sharing quick kisses. Derek unlocked her car door, but they quickly noticed the flat tires. As they checked the damage, their behavior hinted at a long-term relationship, though I couldn't hear their conversation. Derek called for a tow truck, which showed up within 20 minutes to fix the tires. They drove off to the Ramada Inn, confirming Laura's tip. Later, Samantha came home with damp hair and a Macy's shopping bag. It's a painful realization when you find out your spouse has been unfaithful. I returned the car, took a cab to pick up my truck, and crashed on the couch at 5 a.m. Meanwhile, Samantha remained blissfully unaware of her exposed affair. Mel and I had met on a double date, and her striking eyes caught my attention immediately. Despite her father's strict nature, she managed to win me over, and I made the effort to visit her every weekend, slowly changing my father's mind with persistence. While she pursued college, I took online business courses and worked. By her sophomore year, we were engaged, just as the bar went up for sale the next summer. I approached her father to discuss renovating the outdated bar. He agreed to help by lending me money from his retirement fund at a 6% interest rate and assisting with the renovations. Together, we transformed the place, slashing labor costs significantly. Over a decade, I reduced the loan from $200,000 to under $20,000 and doubled the bar's value. Samantha's parents encouraged us to start a family, but she was hesitant. I came to understand that I wasn't seen as fit to be a father. I quickly arranged a commercial loan to repay her father, who then returned the final payment after making a profit from selling the bar's plans. With his confirmation, I settled the bank loan, leaving only an unsecured overdraft. The bar was undergoing repairs, while Samantha remained completely unaware, wrapped up in her own world. On Friday night, disguised once more, I tampered with her car's exhaust and Derek's company car's gas tank. At their favorite bar, they were completely absorbed in each other, oblivious to everything around them. Laura Tate stayed close, offering support. I discreetly bribed the bartender to provide video footage from the bar's security cameras, making sure he kept it confidential. He asked about my plan, and I pulled out my wallet, whispering, "For your eyes only." After confirming my ID, he grinned, eager to help me get back at the cheating couple. He even hinted at procuring Spanish Fly for a special after-hours party next Saturday, which aligned perfectly with the bar's reopening on Thursday. Spanish Fly, a potent aphrodisiac, was often used to help couples struggling with fertility. That stormy night, pretending to be asleep, I heard Samantha come in at 3 a.m. and talk on the phone for a long time. The next morning, I woke up early and, using her unlocked phone, discovered her conversations with Derek after realizing I was home. She had forgotten to delete her messages. One message stood out, addressed to her older sister. "Sis, I need an alibi for last night. I'm going to say I was with you." I snapped a photo with my cell phone. Later, Samantha explained she had been visiting her siblings. On Tuesday, Laura Tate contacted me, suggesting we meet at the highway truck stop. When I arrived, she greeted me warmly and took a photo of me for her contacts. Despite my new mustache and goatee, Samantha remained clueless. "Hi, Red," she said, her happiness evident. "I'm Ethan," she corrected. "You'll be pleased once you see the info my brother shared." He asked if you could cover his printing costs. We sat down for breakfast: eggs, sausage, and bacon for me, and a cheese omelet for Laura, with orange juice and coffee. The information revealed that Samantha had her own keycard to Derek's room for over 6 months, using it regularly on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. At 7 p.m., I showed Laura the incriminating message from my wife. "What's your plan?" she asked. "Are you thinking of filing for divorce? There's a special party next Saturday for Samantha and Derek," I replied. "I plan to gather as much video evidence as possible. It's going to be wild. Once I have everything, I'll show it to her father to explain why she's not interested in having kids with me. At the same time, I'll serve her with divorce papers in their hotel room, all caught on tape. When it's ready, please email it to me." "Why?" Laura asked. "Derek's corporate car is totaled, and there's a terrible smell coming from Laura's car. I plan to suggest to our company that an upset husband might be responsible." "When should it be sent?" I asked, concealing my satisfaction. Laura chuckled. "It's almost poetic, isn't it? She'll be served with the papers at the same time." "Mind if I mention you in this?" I burst into laughter. "You really can be quite the character sometimes." "But yeah, go ahead and use my name, I'll make sure to do that," Laura said, joining in the laughter. I'll never spill the details. I'd managed to execute my plan flawlessly. We arranged for the medication through our doctor, and I swapped Samantha's birth control pills with placebos, giving myself some breathing room. Then, I hit a rough patch. The other night, someone ran a red light and smashed into my truck, causing a massive wreck. The rescue team had to use the jaws of life to get me out, and I was rushed to the hospital for a thorough checkup. Samantha and her parents showed up, and after 6 long hours of tests, I was sent home with strict orders to rest for at least 2 days and avoid driving for a week. Samantha stayed home to take care of me, but by Saturday, I was itching to get back to the bar. As I was gearing up, I overheard Samantha making plans for the night. I asked her to drop me off at the bar, pretending I needed to check on some renovations. Thanks to the new cook I'd hired, the night was a hit. We doubled our sales and sold out completely. Our new daily specials were drawing in a lunchtime crowd and fitting perfectly with the bar's theme. We closed at 8 o'clock, but offered pickled eggs and sausages afterward. An elderly gentleman, who was retired but couldn't sit still, suggested a partnership. He wanted to set up his own kitchen and demanded 10% of the profits. His homemade dishes, like shepherd's pie and Irish stew, were getting rave reviews, which meant we needed to hire additional kitchen staff. Around 8:30, Laura Tate Lazar and her friend Emily walked in, looking fantastic in Irish-themed outfits. They found the table and enjoyed the folk music and Irish standards. Laura Tate's green ensemble caught everyone's eye, and I treated them to specialty drinks with a note saying, "Compliments of the house." "Hey Ethan," Laura Tate said with a smile. "Thanks for remembering our favorites. This is my friend Emily." I shook Emily's hand as she excused herself for a moment. I chose ginger ale, sticking to my promise of not drinking in my own bar for the past decade. When I returned, Laura Tate had moved to sit next to me, while Emily seemed indifferent. Laura Tate took the opportunity to announce, "Emily, Ethan is Samantha's ex-husband." "Really?" Emily said, clearly surprised. "Yep, that's right," I confirmed. "When we first met, I was exploring the town while my bar was under renovation. Laura caught me doing something I shouldn't have, and after a chat, I ended up giving her a ride home. We've been friends ever since." Laura Tate added, "He had no idea about his wife's actions while he was working. That's why we're here today." "I wanted to make sure he wasn't alone." "Why pick this place?" Emily asked. It's known as a high-class spot, I chuckled. I'll take that as a compliment, though I didn't aim for high class. I just wanted a nice place to bring my girlfriend, Laura Tati remarked. Ethan not only built this bar but owns it. We exchanged a glance as Emily looked more astonished. The bar soon filled up, and Laura Tati and Emily kept me dancing all night. My staff noticed the unusually packed dance floor and were pleased with the lively atmosphere. Everyone agreed the music was at just the right level, loud enough to enjoy but not too loud for conversation. As closing time approached, I asked Laura Tati for a ride home. She mentioned that most of the crew preferred our bar because it wasn't geared toward the university single scene, which was great news. It meant word of mouth was expanding our customer base. Sunday morning, it didn't surprise me to find Samantha missing. I spent a couple of hours pretending to be concerned, calling family members, and updating Laura Tati. While I was talking with her, my father-in-law called. "Hey Dad," I answered. "Still no word from Samantha?" "No, Ethan," he said. "That's why I'm calling. Linda and I decided to brunch at the Ramada Inn on 4th, wish we hadn't. Samantha's car is parked here, I'm stuck without my truck and can't make it. You guys enjoy lunch. I'll catch up later," I said, sounding as if I was really concerned. My father-in-law was a strict man, seeing the world in black and white. He was skeptical of mainstream media's truths and was surprised I didn't have tattoos, but I valued self-respect. We often argued about law and order, with one side preaching responsibility and the other condoning irresponsibility. Racism had become a political tool, branding dissenters as enemies. I remarked that if Napoleon were alive today, he'd probably applaud their tactics. To them and their followers, we're just a minority too wise to follow their doctrines. Oppose them, and you're labeled a racist, facing harassment and attacks. Now, they're infiltrating democratically governed cities, masked, imposing their version of social justice. They only want their beliefs echoed. Although leaders promise investigations and accountability, we both know it's unlikely. Equal justice has become a thing of the past. He agreed that things would get worse before they got better, mirroring Napoleon's rise to power. It's disheartening that one party is reviving such divisive culture, sparking fears of a civil war-like repeat. Dad, I concluded, this is the reality we're facing now. Samantha's father might react explosively if he caught her with her lover. I shared evidence of her clandestine escapades with him. When I updated Laura, she laughed and asked what I was up to. "Besides enjoying a quiet evening," I replied. "Not much. Want me to come pick you up so we can hang out?" she offered. I told her I'd love to, but it seemed wiser not to disappear completely while everyone was on edge. It was around 6 p.m. when I heard a car pull into the driveway. Looking out, I saw Samantha's father, alone and looking utterly defeated. I welcomed him inside, poured him a glass of Maker's whiskey, and offered him a slice of pizza. "Dad, it's worse than I thought," he said. "After your call, I spoke with Sarah to verify what I suspected. I had the hotel's day manager reach out to the night manager. Turns out, Samantha's been seeing someone for over 6 months. Sarah found out and promised to keep it under wraps, thinking Samantha was just trying to live a little before settling down. I pretended to be shocked, though I was genuinely taken aback by Sarah's honesty. Just as I was about to leave, Samantha arrived with her lover, looking triumphant as if she'd won a prize. I was so stunned that I nearly fainted. "It took both hotel managers to escort me away," he recounted. "I came here because I figured this would be the last place the authorities would think to look," he said. "I'll call Mom to let her know you're safe. Then I'll check with the Ramada Inn manager about pressing charges." My mother-in-law was devastated but thanked her husband for visiting me. Samantha called to apologize, but her mother wasn't interested. "Your apology means nothing," she said. "You've already caused enough trouble." Later, I called Brian Foster to settle a small debt. He joked about how his sister had reminded me. "She never forgets," he chuckled. He suggested I pay him in front of her to finally put the matter to rest. "Why?" I asked. "It'll save us both a lot of hassle," he replied. "She needs to face the consequences of her actions." I assured him I would handle things carefully, explaining that I'm still married and won't make any decisions until everything is resolved. Brian then told me that no police report had been filed, and Derek had agreed not to pursue charges, thanks to Samantha's persuasion. Thanks, Brian, I said, feeling relieved. I shared the good news with Dad, who visibly relaxed. What's your plan to resolve this? He asked, clearly anxious. I pulled out my phone and showed him a draft message intended for Samantha. It read, Dad has filled me in on everything. Congratulations, you've managed to destroy our family in a single day. Don't come home. The Samantha I knew is gone. If you've chosen him over us, our marriage is over. If not, it's a slow fade over the next 6 months. I sent the message, knowing that trust, once shattered, is difficult to repair. Let's end this marriage with dignity, Dad said, sending the message. Linda always said Samantha married her father's daughter. Now we see she was right. After finishing the pizza and drinks, we went to Lumberland to install new 3-door deadbolt locks. Samantha's parents, David and Linda, along with their adorable kittens, arrived shortly afterward. They left around 10 p.m. I texted Laura Tate, "Are you still awake?" She called back immediately. "Are you okay?" "Brian filled me in," she said. "Derek's got 2 black eyes and a broken nose. Your father-in-law gave him a good beating before Brian stepped in," I laughed. "He used to box in his younger days." "I'd have loved to see that," Laura continued. "After the incident, he came here, looking lost. I heard from your brother that no charges were filed, so I updated the family. They were discussing what to do next and have already left." "What about Samantha?" Laura asked. I told her that my father-in-law had asked the same thing. I mentioned that I'd sent Samantha a message and showed her the text. Laura asked, "Couldn't you forgive her and give her another chance?" "No," I said firmly. "To him, she's broken trust beyond repair. He sees things in black and white. She made her choice and must live with the consequences." "I agree," I added. "He even helped me change the locks," Laura asked. "Any updates on last night?" "I haven't had a chance to check. I've been swamped," I chuckled. "But it probably doesn't matter now. I'll stick to my plan, give it until Monday night," Laura suggested. "From what I've heard, it might surprise you. Why's that?" I asked. "Word is, the bartender at New City David has a history with certain types of videos," Laura said, laughing. "If that's true, he might have exploited the situation." "Seriously?" I asked. "Absolutely," Laura confirmed. "But back to us. When's our first official date?" "How about the day Samantha gets served?" I proposed with a grin. "I'll even arrange for her to be served at the office. And remember, send red roses beforehand. I want to make it clear that she's violated my standards of fidelity." Laura smiled. "Tomorrow at work will be quite the spectacle." After we ended the call, I thought about Laura Tate. She was around 24, unmarried, attractive, and about 5 feet 8 inches tall. While not extremely slim, she had a figure that my grandfather would have considered ideal for starting a family. Despite working in the same regional office as Samantha and her lover, Laura wasn't part of the management team as far as I knew. She kept her circle tight, with close ties to her family and a few select friends, including me. Like me, she enjoyed socializing and had a knack for making the most out of any situation. However, her cautious nature left me with more questions than answers. Her level of education seemed to exceed her current position, hinting at layers of complexity I hadn't fully unraveled yet. As I prepared for bed, I hummed to myself, "Hey Laura Tate, what's the game anyone can play?" Anticipating the challenges of Monday, I arranged for my assistant to manage the bar while I dealt with personal matters. Sarah arrived with David's truck to help pack up Samantha's belongings. We stopped at a packing supply store to ensure we had everything we needed and began with the master bedroom. While I assembled and sealed boxes, Sarah sorted through dresser drawers. "Ethan, I'm appalled by what my sister has done," Sarah said. I never condoned her behavior, and I stayed silent, hoping she would come to her senses. "When Dad told me about your message, I broke down and admitted the truth. I've only known for a month. He took it as a personal failure, believing he didn't raise her right. I think Mom feels the same." "Sarah, I'm still processing everything," I replied. "The night Samantha texted you, I stumbled upon the message by accident while scouting the bar. I took the photo with the intent to confront her. I never imagined it would blow up like this, and I deeply regret it." "Didn't you tell her the bar had been broken into and was closed?" Sarah asked. "I did, but looking back, she must have seen it as a signal to end our marriage," I said. She's always been shielded by our father, and maybe I should have realized it sooner. Sarah cut the cups out of some bras as she packed them, perhaps sending a message to her sister. I appreciated the gesture, as I couldn't bring myself to do it. We worked for about 4 hours, completing half of the packing. I suggested we grab lunch, and Sarah agreed, taking me to a new Chinese place called Yumi's. It had a great selection of food at a decent price. As we arrived, we saw Derek leaving the restaurant, looking worse for wear with 2 black eyes, a broken nose, and swollen lips. "Wow, Dad really did a number on him," Sarah said. An eyewitness told me Dad hit him only 3 times before they intervened. "It'll take Derek 2 months to heal. From the looks of him, my dad still packs a punch," I remarked, surprising Sarah. "If they hadn't stopped him, I wonder if Derek would have ended up in the hospital." "I'm not sure," Sarah said as we approached the entrance. Derek spotted us and tried to get Sarah to unblock Samantha. "Derek, have you met my brother-in-law, Ethan?" she asked. I stepped forward, and Derek's face went pale as he realized I was the one driving Samantha's car. He raised his fist, ready to fight. "If that's how you want it, Derek, fine. Sarah will confirm you started it," I said. As soon as she agreed, I swiftly kicked him in the groin, followed by 2 quick punches. I continued the assault until he collapsed, then delivered a final blow. Feeling a release, I escorted Sarah inside. We were seated, and I ordered unsweetened tea while Sarah chose a cola. "Did my dad teach you those moves?" Sarah asked. "Not exactly," I said. "It's part of my job to handle trouble when it arises." I didn't want a fair fight. I wanted it to end quickly. As we filled our plates, my phone rang. It was Samantha, but I ignored it. "I think her boyfriend already gave her a call," I said. "Too bad he won't be giving her anything anytime soon." Sarah laughed loudly, drawing curious glances. "That was hilarious." "I almost peed myself," she said. "I'm glad you didn't," I replied with a grin. "How would you explain that to David?" "I might have yelled, 'Flash flood,'" Sarah joked. "Stop it," I said, laughing along. After lunch, we finished packing and unloaded everything at David's storage unit. I paid the deposit and rent, leaving the keys with the owner. I texted Samantha to update her on the situation. My insurer called with a low offer for my total truck, so I requested a replacement with similar mileage, which would cost them more in the long run. Returning home, I found Laura and Emily waiting. I introduced them to Sarah as Samantha's colleagues and invited everyone inside. We relaxed with some beers, and Laura said, "We came by to check on you and see if you'd like to join us for dinner." Emily added, "Several people had a rough day at work. Derek was seriously injured this morning and went to the hospital this afternoon." During lunch, Samantha was busy searching for a new apartment. "I can't say I feel sorry for any of them," Sarah remarked as we spent the day moving Samantha's belongings into storage. I let Sarah handle packing Samantha's underwear, making it easier for her future partners to find. Laura Tati kept me updated. I've informed the company about Derek and Samantha's affair. I attached a photo of Derek's battered face after Samantha's father caught them in the act. I made it clear that such office relationships, especially long-term ones, are unacceptable. "Do you hate my sister that much?" Sarah asked. "It's not about hatred," Laura replied. "I disapprove of her actions. In my family, we're accountable for what we do. We get praise for good deeds and face consequences for missteps. They've evaded accountability for too long." I stepped away to take a call from the bar. When I returned, Laura filled me in on what I missed. "So, Laura Tati, how long have you had feelings for Ethan?" Sarah asked with genuine curiosity. "The night I met him, he discovered his wife's affair," Laura recounted. "I saw him manage his anger carefully. Instead of causing a scene, he took a quieter approach, deflating her tires. He didn't want me involved, showing consideration for everyone involved. We talked that night. He never insulted or embarrassed her. He gathered evidence to explain gently to his father-in-law why Samantha didn't want children. Ethan's empathy shines through, even as he deals with his own pain. You have my approval, but if you ever hurt him, I won't hesitate to act," Sarah warned. Laura continued, "When your father learned about Samantha and Derek, he came here to support Ethan. Did you know he sent the message that ended their marriage?" "No, I didn't," Sarah replied. That explains why they didn't discuss our attempt to reconcile. Call David and the kids to meet us at the bar, I instructed. I'm making dinner for everyone, including Emily and Laura. Give me a moment to change. When I returned, Sarah had left, and Emily was in the kitchen. Laura had cleaned up, and we exchanged appreciative comments. I really like your sister-in-law, Laura said. I think we'll become good friends. She speaks highly of you as well, I replied. Laura embraced me, and the moment felt significant, hinting at what was to come. We walked hand in hand to the car, sharing smiles with Emily. Laura took the front seat, and I settled in the back, feeling a sense of anticipation. Emily commented on our slow progress, and Laura explained, we're taking small steps until we sort out this mess. I want to be a stay-at-home mom with a husband who shares my values. At Thea's house, Sarah's children greeted us warmly. Sarah noted how well I connected with her daughters, often soothing them. I also noticed the need for more bar stools. Sarah parked the truck at her husband's store. The shepherd's pie received high praise, even from the older patrons. Laura, seated next to me, shared a dessert made by the chefs. When she tasted my drink and discovered it was non-alcoholic, she playfully teased me. I reminded her of my commitment not to drink before opening the bar. She looked at me with pride and tears in her eyes. My assistant reported increased sales at the bar and over $1,000 in food sales. I paid the bill with my debit card, emphasizing the importance of honesty to my employees. Laura remarked, not everyone agrees, but when you think about it, it adds up. I left a 20% tip with the bill. Emily and Laura drove me home. I checked my email and found a video from a bartender named David. Titled, Surviving University Night, it featured Samantha and Derek and included legally witnessed contracts. It was now for sale on an adult site. I texted Laura about the update, noting that Samantha would do everything to ensure her parents never saw it. Later, Laura arrived with a new look. I'm stunned, I said. Who are you, and what have you done with my Laura tattoo? Do you like it? Laura asked with a smile. I've transformed my appearance for a reason. Your message allowed me to explain. I've been working undercover for the FDA within Matthews Dental Supply Corporation for over 2 years. They've been distributing contaminated materials from China, hiding their sources through various companies. Most buyers unknowingly have lead in their dental products. Derek, with his history of stalking married women, is a danger to Samantha. I came along to shift your focus. Is Emily also an agent? I asked. Yes, Laura confirmed. We met in college while studying accounting. Before we continue, I need you to forward the video and any related information to my FBI contact. David, the bartender at New City, is involved in similar activities as Samantha and Derek. Your input could help bring down their operation. We sent the information together. I poured Laura a glass of white wine and grabbed a cold beer for myself. As we talked, her phone rang. She said it was my mom. I offered Laura privacy, but she declined, so I put the call on speaker. Hi, Mom. Looks like you got my message, Laura said with a smile. Did you really say you're leaving the FDA? Her mother asked. Yes, Emily and I are wrapping up this week and then starting our own firm, Laura explained. We'll testify when needed, but for now, we plan to stay local. We've been urging you to settle down for years. Why now? Her mother inquired. Mom, why did you move back home? Laura laughed. Okay, Mom, I've met someone who's made me consider settling down. Is this Ethan you've mentioned? Her mother asked. Mom, that's enough. Goodbye, Laura said, ending the call. Empty nest syndrome, right? I joked. Tomorrow, I have a divorce lawyer appointment. Emily and I are leaving Matthews, Laura disclosed. The FDA wants us out by Wednesday before they execute warrants, even though they already know where to look. Laura left around 1 a.m. on Tuesday. I sorted out the rental car with the insurance company and then went to the lawyer's office to start the divorce process. I was the first to arrive that day. The lawyer asked for proof, so I recounted the entire story and played the recording of my conversation with my father-in-law. I also provided printouts from the Ramada Inn. It would strengthen our position if she agrees to my proposed settlement, I explained. We should arrange a meeting with her and her attorney to review what's on this flash drive. It contains footage of last Saturday night with their consent. I forwarded the email confirming it. What makes you so sure she won't contest this? My lawyer asked. Take the flash drive home and watch the 2-hour video alone. I'm keeping the business, she gets the house. No alimony, I suggested. And if she refuses, she pressed. Then every family member will receive a copy anonymously, I stated, rising to leave. Ethan, can you always be this ruthless? She sighed. Only when someone's actions leave me no choice, I responded. Reflecting, I realized the last 12 years of my life had been largely wasted. Meanwhile, Laura and Emily resigned in person from their employer's office. Samantha, the office manager, was shocked by their departure. Finding replacements for their roles would be challenging. Derek, visibly injured, spent the day fielding calls from headquarters. Secured in his position due to family ties, he agreed to cover the cost of 2 company cars from his own funds. It was made clear he must either marry Samantha or terminate her employment after the divorce. After leaving my lawyers, I went to see a real estate broker I knew. I wanted to explore available office buildings in the area. One property, in particular, seemed promising. It was only 5 blocks from the Baicha store on Bedia, now owned by the bank I was dealing with. The broker thought the bank was eager to sell it and suggested it could be revitalized with a facelift, interior painting, and landscaping. The 3-story building could be cleaned up quickly and attract attention. After inspecting it, I agreed. We prepared a proposal with a low price contingent on securing financing and inspection approval. I asked if I could show the space to a potential client. He gave me the keys and told me to bring it by tomorrow around 2 in the afternoon. I texted Laura and Emily, asking if they could swing by the bar. I need to show you both something, I wrote. Laura quickly agreed. I then called my father-in-law and asked if he had an hour or 2 to spare. When he asked why, I explained that I might need to sell the bar to settle the divorce and wanted his opinion on a potential new office building. He agreed to come over, and I picked him up. We walked through the building, checking the electrical systems. He pointed out a few details that an inspector might miss but could be used as bargaining chips. What are they asking for? He inquired. I told him and then shared my offer. Smart move, he said. You can always negotiate up, but you can't go down. Personally, I think you should go for it. You'll need a couple of new anchors. Do you have someone in mind? Just 2 ladies starting their own accounting firm, I replied. They're working with me and Samantha since I might have to sell Baicha, he grinned. If you secure it, I'll help with the renovations to accommodate both of you. It's more spacious than your current place and has ample parking. Sarah speaks highly of them and believes they're trustworthy. Thanks, Dad, I acknowledged. Do you think Samantha will claim a share of the business in the divorce? The Samantha I once knew probably wouldn't, he said. But the one you're divorcing likely will. She'll shift the blame onto you to justify her actions. Exactly, I agreed. That's how it goes in divorce proceedings. It's all about what the judge believes. If Samantha and I had kids, I'd be at a significant disadvantage. It's not fair, but that's the reality. It's unjust, he insisted. I share your sentiment, I said. But we're in the minority. Most people are only concerned with themselves. The collective benefit of society is long gone. Just look at the rising homelessness in California, what they call the promised land. Most people only see what the media feeds them on any given day, and it's fleeting. Later that day at the bar, my realtor dropped some disappointing news. While our offer on the building had been accepted, they wouldn't provide financing. Despite my long-standing relationship with them, I was left to secure my own funding. I turned to LendingTree.com, uploading my tax returns from the past 5 years to prove my financial stability. Emily, Laura, and I walked through the vacant ground floor of the building I was eager to purchase. It used to be a call center, and I shared my vision for transforming it into a stylish bar and restaurant. I also discussed their office space needs. We can't cover the finishing costs, Emily said candidly. We need something move-in ready. Determined to make this work, I decided to personally finance the renovations and develop the space as my business grew. I should have financing lined up by Friday, I told them confidently. I'm expecting to acquire the building below its appraised value. Samantha's father has agreed to help with construction, which will significantly cut costs. Laura raised an eyebrow. Why go to all this trouble? the court might force me to sell Bitya as part of the divorce settlement, I explained. So, I'm preparing for the worst-case scenario. Emily proposed an alternative. What if you don't have to sell the bar? I need to be prepared, I replied, still feeling the sting of Wednesday's pain. My assistant's promotion and my surgeries require a backup plan. Meanwhile, Samantha, along with her parents and the FDA, made the rounds at all regional offices and headquarters. She received a copy of my divorce petition, which cited her infidelity. By Friday, Samantha and Derek were at Richard's headquarters, finalizing their deal. I managed to secure an additional $250,000 for remodeling. We dove into renovations on the ground floor, stripping it down to its bare concrete walls. Our draftsman produced detailed plans, including an elevator shaft for the 3 floors and extra plumbing for Laura and Emily's office. Contractors worked on installing 2 entrances, one from the street and another from the main lobby. I tackled both excavating concrete for the new elevator shaft and erecting an interior concrete wall. Laura and Emily flew to Washington every Sunday and returned on Fridays, assisting with the renovations as much as they could. Negotiations between my soon-to-be ex and her lawyer proved fruitless. Frustrated, I called for a meeting with all parties involved, ready for a decisive confrontation. After finishing the elevator shaft, I had the building sandblasted to restore its original color and freshen up the red brick. The crew also upgraded the flat roof before focusing on the interior. Samantha's office was designed with restrooms, a lunchroom, a reception area, and 6 offices, while my space included public restrooms, a storage area, and a band platform with a dance floor. Contractors completed her section first. In just 2 weeks, I acquired 2 additional office buildings nearby. 2 of them were sold and converted into a new Bank of America branch, and the local paper celebrated the neighborhood redevelopment. My meeting with Samantha and her lawyer was scheduled for Friday. Kitchen equipment was delivered and placed on the white tile floor, an oak bar counter was built, dark pine laminate flooring was installed, and electrical work was completed on both sides. Tables, chairs, and restaurant booths were ordered and scheduled for delivery on Monday. All this was accomplished in less than 2 months. My real estate agent secured a long-term tenant, a legal team, for the 2nd and 3rd floors, covering mortgage, taxes, and associated expenses. At a meeting with my attorney, Samantha revealed her desire for me to become a father. I listened skeptically as she claimed to have been on birth control when conception occurred. I proposed a DNA test to verify her claim and instructed my attorney to disclose the contents of the disc I provided. Samantha's face went white when she learned it had over 2 million hits, each generating $5.99. As legally married partners, I asserted my right to 5% of the proceeds from her one-night adventure as a marital asset. I gave her the weekend to propose a fair settlement, threatening to make the disc's contents public if she did not comply by Tuesday. The room fell silent. "I know who the father of your child is, Samantha, and his name is Derek," I stated firmly before heading for the door. "You made your choice. Face the consequences." 10 minutes later, my divorce attorney called Ethan with Samantha's counteroffer, $350,000 to keep his business in-house, with conditions of silence about certain matters and surrendering rights to the video. "Draw up the settlement agreement," Ethan instructed, "but hold on to the funds until I'm satisfied." "When will the divorce be finalized?" Ethan asked, eager to move forward. "I'll schedule a court date now, but it won't be official until 30 days after the judge approves it," the attorney explained. Dressed sharply, Ethan awaited Laura and Emily's arrival at the airport, holding roses, red for Laura and yellow for Emily. Their faces lit up when they saw him, and he greeted them with checks in hand, symbolizing their financial agreements. With their luggage in tow, they headed to Ethan's new sedan, purchased with a cash settlement he found acceptable. "Before we head home, I want to show you your finished offices," Ethan said. "The rest of the building is rented by a group of lawyers." Laura asked about the financial losses incurred, and Ethan responded with a laugh, confirming they were significant. In a subsequent meeting with their lawyers, Ethan presented evidence of Samantha's earnings from the video, arguing that since it was filmed during their marriage, he was entitled to 50% of the income. Laura shed tears of relief as I explained our new situation. I would retain my business, my house, and receive an additional $350,000. Samantha had a week to remove any furniture she wanted from the house. "What are your plans for the house?" she asked. I'll sell it, I replied. I don't want past memories to weigh on our future. Laura's face lit up with tears of joy at my decision. Emily, who had always been straightforward, couldn't resist a jab. Took you over 2 months to say what I knew the night we met Sarah and her family. But when you finally speak, you do it right. Even Emily, who was usually reserved, became emotional when she saw their newly approved offices. The warm, professional space, adorned with oak and pastel colors, was a hit. All that's left is to name the business, register it, and get the office equipment and furniture, I said with a smile. You ladies have a great eye for design, Laura said, embracing me. I love you. Finally, I nodded and kissed her, a sign of the end to any previous reservations. Later, I took Emily to Laura's house, where they both now lived. It was Laura's first time traveling home with me. We spent hours catching up and opening up to each other. After a delightful breakfast at our favorite deli, I took Laura to Alex's to look at rings. She found one she loved but hesitated at the price. I'm buying it, I insisted, envisioning it as a future gift for our daughter's 16th birthday. Even the salesperson was touched as she completed the sale. The first person Laura called to share the news was Emily. We planned a celebratory dinner at Baisha restaurant on Baisha for 6 o'clock. I suggested she invite her parents, eager for them to meet the man who had convinced them to return home. I also called Michael, my former father-in-law, and his wife, inviting them over. They were thrilled to accept. I informed them that Samantha and I had reached a divorce agreement, which would be finalized next week. When I learned that Samantha and Derek had announced their engagement but hadn't yet spoken about it, I asked Sarah to bring the whole family. I arranged for the chef to prepare a special meal, explaining the occasion. He promised a traditional Irish lamb stew and cedar cookies, adding his own twist. A private table at the back of the restaurant was reserved for us, ensuring added privacy. Michael and Linda, my in-laws, were the first to arrive. I introduced them to Laura. To everyone's surprise, Laura's parents, Tom and Karen Foster, joined us as well. It turned out that Michael had kept them updated during work. When David and Sarah arrived, their young children, aged 4 and 3, rushed to me, hugging me tightly. Laura opened her arms, and the little ones gravitated toward her. During the lavish dinner, we shared the exciting news of Laura's engagement ring, stunning everyone with its size. Laura recounted how the proposal had happened and my reaction, bringing tears to her mother's eyes and earning warm approval from the relatives. When Laura said it was fine for me to call them Mom and Dad, I assured them they would always be Mom and Dad to me. The exceptional food delighted us all. When the bill came, Laura's father insisted on covering it. Despite my initial protests, a gentle nudge from Laura convinced me to accept his generosity. After everyone left except her parents, we recounted our story in detail. Tom asked why I never drank Irish coffee. Laura explained my policy of abstaining from alcohol in my own establishments to set a good example for my employees. Impressed, Tom joked that our restaurant was fit for his daughter and praised the office design and my principles. Michael, who had been a father figure to me, shared that he saw me as the son he never had. Growing up without a father, I had been raised by my mother alone after he left before they were even married. Meeting Michael through Samantha, I found him to be tough yet principled, shaping who I am today. He became my father by choice, and I owe much of my moral compass to him. When the ladies returned, Michael spoke again, expressing his approval of our relationship and officially welcoming me into their family. This gesture left Laura in shock, as he had never before approved of anyone she was involved with. The evening ended on a high note, and it was hard to see Laura leave. Emily and Laura aimed to leave the FDA on good terms. I listed the house on Monday, signed the divorce agreement on Wednesday, and received the trust funds. On Friday, I watched as the judge finalized the divorce, though Samantha didn't show up. I picked up my assistant and showed him the new bar layout. He agreed to manage it for $75,000 a year, plus a 10% bonus based on net income. Thus, Jake's Bar and Grill was born. 3 years later, Brooks & Sullivan accounting firm thrived while Jake's Bar and Grill became a local favorite. Samantha and Derek's marriage, however, fell apart in court when she caught him with her best friend. Despite the turmoil, her family remained distant. The birth of our twins brought immense joy amidst life's challenges. Laura playfully named me during labor pains, and we proudly introduced our red-haired babies to our relatives, marking a new chapter in our lives.